Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Summer Cup cast. I am joined by Screwloose and Slappy Davis.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Happy to be jumping into is this the first Summer Cup cast?
I believe it's the second, but we're still casting group stage, of course.
Yeah, still early on. And it's
Yep.
the first cast for you for a while, I think, Slappy. I feel like I haven't seen you on cast for a long time.
It is true. So it's also going to be interesting because some of these players is the first time that I've cast them, but I've noticed them in especially in a lot of Swiss events. So I'm curious to see how they play. I'll be kind of building up an idea of how they all these players play, but I do know that they're from a kind of like a solid, potentially gonna spring up the leaderboard kind of group. So I'm personally interested.
I like that. So, and which players are we going to be casting today?
I think in the first game we are going to be casting Bananabread versus Roxo. Bananabread been around a little bit longer, as far as I know, than Roxo. Roxo seems to have been playing in a bunch of the Swiss, I guess, days, Swiss events, and putting in like, so far, I don't think they've been able to beat top players, but they put in decent results for since then. And also just the consistency of, you jump into a Swiss event, and you're facing top players and you lose. Sometimes people lose resolve pretty quickly and don't jump into the Swiss events, but they've been consistent. So a lot of the times those kind of players will spring up later as they get more games in. Banana Bread has been around for, I want to say, like at least a year, maybe even 2 years. But actually, recently, my main memory of Banana Bread was in the what's the Hex tournament where
Hexagon Cup.
people, yeah, and I think it was actually you, Grash, that finally drafted him, and people instantly in chat were saying, "Cannot believe that Banana Bread fell this low." So there was a lot of respect for Banana Bread, especially as being drafted kind of later in the play, and then I believe did pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. So
And then after
Should be a good
that,
match.
yeah, that should be also interesting to kind of see where. So Banana Bread, in my mind, is in that space of really solid player who maybe someday will just grind out a bunch of games and jump up from that like solid position that they're in. And this is kind of a test for Roxo, who is kind of more of an unknown. And then after that, we have June versus Scout, also players that have been around for about a year or so now, or Scout for a little bit longer than June, but also in that space of uh, eventually could just shoot up leaderboards where they have a really solid foundation. Basically, my hot take coming into this is I think that someday out of these four players, I don't know which one. I think one of them will be like a top 10 player, get into big tournaments, get into quarterfinals, semis, that sort of thing. Because they're in that group of, they have potential, they put in a lot of
Mhm.
games, and then eventually could actually just grind out and start doing really well.
Yeah, I agree. Once you get to the level that they're at, where they're experienced, they've done competitions, they've played top players, they understand the mechanics of the game, and they can see, what's a good move and what's a bad move. It's like they just go and grind out 4,000 games, and then they're just going to shoot way up.
Yeah, totally.
I love these
Um,
takes, and I definitely agree. I've been especially impressed lately, just with recency bias with some of Scout's play. I had drafted Scout pretty early on in Hexagon Cup. Has performed really well in some of the Swiss events, so should be really exciting to see all these games.
Indeed.
All right, well, let's jump into the first set then. So we got Banana Bread versus Roxo to start from Group C. You guys ready?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
All right, when you can count us off.
Cool. Do you have a screen for the venues that we'll be playing that shows the order?
Shoot, I do not.
That's okay. We'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah, so for the groups for the Summer Cup, it's just a set of 6 venues that are in the same order. I know it starts Ballroom, Veranda, and then I don't remember the order, but I know Courtyard's in there. Um,
Yeah, it's
and then
Ballroom,
High Rise. Yeah, go ahead.
Veranda, High Rise, Aquarium, Courtyard, Pub. One of the great things about Summer Cup that I just love from a caster perspective is I can open up the results and there won't be spoilers. Which, by
Yeah.
the way, we should mention real quick. If either player reaches 7 games first, they do play the rest of the set for tiebreakers, but we will actually move on to the next set if a player reaches that because they might change up their playstyle. It becomes different. They are still meaningful games, but they won't determine who actually gets the win or tie off of it.
Yep. So it looks like we're starting out on Ballroom. I show Roxo as Irish.
Yeah.
Same.
Cool. I'll count us in. 3, 2, 1. Playing it.
So the first thing you'd imagine as Irish is going kind of leaning towards a potential walking bug, especially on Ballroom, because he's kind of like a thin bug silhouette. So I'm curious. That's one of the things, though, that like I'm actually curious to see playstyle. We often talk about the sniping playstyle the most because it's the most
Bananabread.
All right, actually pretty early
That's
Bananabread. Let me
early,
cut myself
very
off.
early. Yeah, but not terrible. I mean, only 4 lowlights. Pretty well distributed. I would have liked to have seen it linked with something else, like a distraction, but not a terrible time to Bananabread.
Yeah, and actually, like you're mentioning, I actually think this actually bodes really well for Roxo as a player because now, okay, if they didn't happen to notice, unlike they just fired off because they're in a Bananabread, maybe it would just, all right, decent Bananabread in my conversation, not noticing the rest of the party. But I'm actually really bad at noticing, okay, we have a white transfer and actually pretty good position.
Visible.
You could see the hands behind General's head, but they weren't set up to specifically look at it. So kind of unclear whether or not Bananabread's going to be on top of that. If Bananabread was baiting with the laser to make it look like he wasn't looking, obviously Roxo's in a ton of trouble because it's a white microfilm.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like if Bananabread saw it, you just shoot, right? So I think relatively clean. It was on screen, but there was a bit of movement, people at statues, Ambassador like somewhat vulnerable. So I'm pretty sure the blue was clean, but I think the green is typically a little bit harder to get away with.
Yeah, and actually, this is relatively unusual. So early Bananabreads lead to different kinds of games because all of a sudden it moves up the potential for rush a lot. If there's a really early Bananabread, all of a sudden I'm a lot more concerned about there just being a rush, especially if somebody goes to middle statues, for example. Then I just have to like look at them way harder. So I'm curious what that happens, and it's going to be mixed in with this early transfer, which is, I would say, oh, don't actually go for the second transfer. It looked like he was
Camera
moving
shake
around.
too. Camera shake from Roxo. I think they like maybe forgot to finish it. I don't like the play into the middle statue because we're gonna get a highlight for going mid statue, and now we have to do the green microfilm later as a highlight, which is much harder to get away with versus being a neutral light.
Totally agree. I think that we lost a little bit of nerve there. Are we even gonna get this? Okay, I don't think we broke animation, but it was a little close. So I think we lost a little bit of our nerve there because we would be finishing up 4th mission right here. And I think this would be really hard to shoot for. And instead, like you're saying, if we want to go, and even Ambassadors be dropping a fingerprint on
that's bad actually. That's bad for Roxo because now there's additional attention to the bookcase because of the fingerprint, which Roxo doesn't even need. Goes for the fake BB into the white purloin, feeling a little bit of pressure on the clock. List is gone. Bananabread notices, but ends up shooting Tex, a civilian.
Yeah, and so a little bit unfortunate there for Bananabread that it looks like one of his top suspects happened to be in the chain, because honestly, that did feel like that game got away from Roxo, because we ended up doing a purloin after, like even if we ignore the microfilms, like just pretend we were just doing contact, into seduction, into inspect, into purloin, that is a difficult one to get away with those white purloins, but I actually loved the initial strategy. So like where Roxo was going, but then maybe just really commit harder to the microphone because I thought that was great. I want to see what Tex was up to.
Tex had rejected and had an early mid statue, and the fade from the list to tell the sniper if it was a green or white purloin, due to the angle, like wasn't visible. Toby was facing away, and it just wasn't on screen for the most part.
And it does look like Tex actually didn't have real. So funnily enough, the first action that we did, I think that we didn't, like we were kind of flustered by the real because we had talked about it really early Bananabread. So that first decision for an early Bananabread just worked out really well because I don't think we had divvied up the party, because honestly there was actually only one real from that other conversation. It was Duke. And if we had noticed that and noticed, okay, Duke is the only reel from that one. There's a big group of other ones. Maybe we assume reel. I don't know. That's too far in. That game was it was interesting. I'm really curious if we'll see that same kind of like creativity initially from Roxo, and hopefully just a little bit more confidence.
Yeah. Let's see how they respond back. So we're gonna have Bananabread on Disney in 3, 2, 1. Playing it. Yeah, Roxo got a bit lucky there. It was very up and down, right? Roxo was on a clear path to victory, felt pressured by the time, made a questionable decision, but then ended up getting a little bit lucky on it. So
indeed, and we will go pseudo window to window. We technically missed the pad on the first one, but it's going to be really hard to notice at that point. And we are doing it to pick up this first briefcase, so we actually are very intentional about wanting this first fingerprint. I'm not sure how.
Lots of highlights.
I don't know. How do you feel about being the very first person on fingerprint? I know that some people will be very suspicious or very not suspicious.
I'm afraid to comment because it will give away my own personal strategies.
Totally fair. I don't watch fingerprints, so I don't even care.
I would say a high impact. Either way you want to look at it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I agree.
It definitely will depend on the players, right?
Yeah.
All right, and we get, unfortunately, just a white flirt going in here. We might think about doing something. Nope, nothing with the reject. We should be noticing Taft just intuitively here as getting 2 cycles at middle statue, so hopefully we note if he happens to reject or if he's in the Bananabread pool later than that.
Was Taft at the back statues? I didn't even notice Taft, to be honest.
Yes, he was at the back statue, so he's mostly blocked by this really good wall. Actually, this is something that... this is a great wall on those back statues right now. Now, there's not that much he can really abuse with it at this time, but this is just something for people in chat to notice. I
think Bananabread could go for a swap. I think Bananabread could swap that far left statue, maybe even break animations, like just do a running, like pick up swap, break animation to set down, and walk to blue bookcase.
Bananabread.
Yeah, there's a tight wall with Seek.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a fake Bananabread, which I don't know. I don't know if Bananabread actually does more or fewer Bananabreads because of the name. I feel like being over that. Okay, now here's a big decision. D comes to us. Are we gonna fake it? And it looks like we are going to
Bananabread.
We're gonna go for the real. I liked this play from Roxo, not shooting the civilian, but they paused for a moment. Rather than taking the low lights, they paused to look at how people reacted after the Bananabread. There's kind of a couple things that you can do when you hear Bananabread. You can quickly snap for your lowlights, or you can just watch and see what everyone else does. Does somebody split? Does somebody go for a bug? Do they take an action? And just try to memorize the lowlights that you'll need to take shortly after. So I saw Roxo pause and just think, and then goes for the shot onto Seek, which I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looks like he credited Seek with a bug. You can sort of see a camera shake as Seek passes by the Amba before the highlight. So.
And interestingly enough, though, he did make the correct behavioral read just on the wrong person, right? Because it was a fake into a real because DA went into a new conversation. It just was the only other person in the conversation.
Yeah, what's interesting, though, is Seek joined the conversation at that spot at 2:55, and the game ended at 1:14. So the Seek stayed in that position for a long time. So even if they had bug, they have seduce contact bug, there's still a 4th mission to wait for there.
Indeed.
But we're going to move on to Veranda. Fairly sniper favored most of the time, at least at high levels, because the spy has to get away with so much. But let's see what Roxo does as Salmon in 3, 2, 1, planet.
And interestingly, though, with Veranda, for players that haven't done it as much, they feel more pressure than is necessary to shoot. So even though Veranda low spy win rate, there's a higher percentage of those spy wins come from wrong shots than they should, because snipers will feel more pressure than they actually need to be. And we are going for the first fingerprint. And this is a relatively low suspicion, at least, fingerprint. And we are going to have this next fingerprint coming up here. This is going to be something to watch out for.
Yeah, an interesting thing that I heard from, maybe it was Warning Track or maybe you, someone older that kind of high-level player, was like, a way to beat a sniper is to copy their spy play, because most people play a spy the way that it would beat their sniper, right? Because that's how they think about the game. So sometimes copying like how someone else plays their spy might be good, which in theory is what Roxo just did. Went for the early fingerprint.
And I agree. So that's actually that's a trackism, I think. And one of the weird things about that is because you could say it goes both directions, right? People play the
Yeah.
snipers that would beat their spies. People play the spies beat their snipers. But almost always their identity as a player derives more from their identity as sniper than it does from their identity as spy. Maybe early
Yeah.
on that's a little bit different, but people really start organizing themselves around sniper faster. And then in response, it basically I'm saying the causal arrow does actually seem to flow more from spies trying to beat their own sniper than it would be from
Right.
snipers trying to beat their own spies.
Yeah, I agree.
And in that meantime, we get a flirt in there. We're back in the same conversation circle. We might even bother with a timer flirt here. One of the unique things about Veranda is the spread of small conversation circles. So Veranda is actually really cool with seduction targets. It's just so much more fruitful to watch for not seduce as sniper. But I would love someday for Veranda to be in the kind of space where we're actually watching flirt more, because it's so interesting of like, if you have a high number of conversation circles and they're all small, the ways that people move in and the groups of people are actually more distributed than like with fewer conversation circles. Really, there's gonna be a lot of noise around who's been there.
And
All right.
we're being watched here. Roxo, in the meantime, picked up a double inspect, and Bananabread did rotate around to watch for the swap, but also the ambassador was there, so you'd be watching two things at once. But just the way that Bananabread is kind of keeping Roxo on screen, but like on the edge a lot like this, just kind of gives me the impression that Bananabread is extra suspicious of Salmon here, more so than the other highlights.
Yeah, and I'm gonna guess that Roxo was hoping for a fingerprint on this red bookcase by the time they went there. It could actually be bummer on the red flirt. Oh no, it's actually that was canceled. That's not a red flirt. We just got unlucky. Too bad that selection target had been there for like a minute before we popped in there.
Yeah, we're really pressed on time at this point. We've got a minute left. We have to do a lot of missions, so it's going to have to be kind of a little bit of a rush here or a time ad. It looks like Salmon is going to get the BB, head over to the time ad window, probably go for one here, and then hopefully just dump this book.
Yeah, I really actually wish he just dumped this book right when he did that BB, because we swung? Swing? Is it swing? I don't know. We went over to the left side of the map really hard. And actually, I don't think we would have seen this at all.
Yeah, that's a shot.
Yeah. Patient shot, though. Like, a lot of people, if they are really certain that the person's transferring microfilm, they'll shoot right when they stand at bookcases, because an AI would actually not do that. But it's actually good to wait for, because I've seen shots happen where you're about to get disconfirmed by like a Bananabread or a Purloin, just like in the next seconds that you don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
So good patience. I wonder if there was enough suspicion on us that if we had just dumped that book right away after that Bananabread, if we would have remembered to look for that book. So I will never know, but it ends up with the dead spy. But at least they did have a path in that last 30 seconds to maybe cobbling something together.
Yeah, I agree. I would have liked to have just seen, like, if you're going to be dumping it in the wrong case, just get it over with, right? And maybe it would have been different, but as I mentioned earlier, it just kind of felt like the sniper was extra suspicious of Salmon, just with camera placement, but just a hunch.
Yes, and hopefully, I don't know actually if there's any other venues that will really be able to abuse camera swings. Bananabread was swinging the camera a little bit more than they might need to, so you could sneak stuff in there, but it might not actually matter in the rest of the venues. So we'll be moving on.
Yeah, let's jump in. We've got Bananabread as mom, starting in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And so classic. Yeah. Oh, yep. You're probably going to say the same thing I am.
No, I wasn't. But that was a great time for a... we're going to do a rip and run. I would have liked to have seen the green Purloin into book grab.
Yeah, so one of the things is teal blends in with both blue and green bookshelves, but really green more than blue, to be totally honest. It's closer to green. So I don't know if Bananabread intended to go for a microfilm with teal because of the blend in, but we just happened to spawn right there. Ooh,
Goes
great.
For it.
Great choice. Like, we might get credited for it, but we were going to get credit for it if we took it or not. Just take it, you know?
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying about Veranda and the camera swing. I think Veranda is for me, maybe the most interesting venue in the game because of the way that the camera operates here and the spy being able to abuse that, knowing that they'll be off screen for a certain amount of time because they have to rotate the camera around. I really would like to see us maybe test some alternative venue setups for Veranda and see if we can make it a little bit more balanced. It's just really interesting to me with the camera layout here.
Oh, I totally agree. I love Veranda. There's like a couple weird things about Veranda. So old school Veranda
Bananabread.
had one more. Okay, we had real quick. We got a Bananabread. There's quite a decent amount of people in transition outside of conversation. Very few people standing outside of conversation. Looks like we hit most of them. We might be suspicious of Kane for going into that bookcase, but it doesn't look like we pick up any highlights.
We're still a neutral, and we just got highlit, but 3 missions done, which is really good progress at 2.5 minutes.
Agreed. So Veranda, there used to be a plant right where that door is, to the right of Damon, where that door is. An old Veranda. There was a plant. It was It was a little bit of a spare plant, meaning that like you could see through it. But what it did is it forced snipers to rotate about where Bananabread is right now. It forced them to go this far to be able to see statues. And I'm actually really sad that it's gone, and I wish we actually put it back in here, because it actually means that you don't have to rotate as much. Because I agree with you, by far the most interesting thing about Veranda is the fact that you actually have to give up view on different sides of the map in a way that is distinct from Courtyard.
And the spy knows it, and they can use it if they want, right? Like, they know that this person, it will take them this amount of time to rotate back over to where I'm at.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're going to be dumping book for 4th mission into red case. We're not shot yet, which bodes really well for us, and it's going to put us in a position where we only need 1 more mission. A soft tell would be great, but it's also like pretty late to start. We're going to go for statues, which concerns me a little bit. It means we're going to be finishing inspect at probably less than a minute left, which is like a pretty spy-like thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. I actually thought when we stepped in here, we were going for a swap. And actually, I think it might have worked if we just instant swap. Now, granted, as a spy who you felt like if you're spy, you felt like you got gifted a bug and you've had good pace since then, you are gonna feel weird about swapping and giving yourself like a 20% chance of just getting shot for a swap after playing a great game. But I agree with you that versus most snipers, the timing of rushing down 2 sets of statues actually is probably higher than their chance of catching you on swap, but it feels less foolish if you get caught.
Yeah, I mean, the swap, it didn't look like it was really ever checked. It's now being checked from small men, but I'm not even sure if... Wow. And Roxo with the comeback on the shot. It seemed like they were uncertain. They shook their camera quite a bit, but ends up finding the correct shot for finishing inspect in that last minute 30. I think
exactly. I think you're absolutely correct. I think he hated taking that shot with the camera shake. Like, he felt forced into it just because of context. So he was lingering on Teal at Red Bookcase. And I think he was saying, I actually don't remember where this book came from. I don't want to shoot, though, which is actually correct. He did wait. This is actually really good patience from Roxo, which I was actually not expecting from the early shot on Ballroom. He was way more patient on this than he was on Ballroom. And then, like we actually both mentioned, the inspect got us caught. And I actually want to kind of make that stick is inspecting is a soft tell. It does not mean it's less risky than just doing a swap and trying to get in that window.
Yeah, I agree with the take, actually. It looks like when we went to the first set of statues, we were not watched very closely for swap at all. I think we might have gotten away with that. So,
but they had to have noticed because the inspect finished, though. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I just don't think swap was guarded very much.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Well, let's see how Bananabread responds as sniper. And is this Summer Cup version of High Rise a little bit different?
Is this one you get to pick? You choose one, or is it forced? No, it can't be the forced one because it's swap on.
It's where you have to choose either microfoam or swap has to be on. It's kind of like that tournament Nebula did forever ago. They introduced the idea.
Okay. So initially, I'll chat about this during the thing because I think there'll probably just be flirts at the beginning of this. The main reason that we started messing around with this idea was, like actually we mentioned in Veranda, swinging lasers is one of the most interesting things in SpyParty where the spy knows for certain they have some sort of cover. There was very few reasons, and the most let's say, traditionally valuable spy setups to actually swing to the right side of the venue. And because microfilm and swap are just so much worse. Yeah, exactly. So much worse than the rest of the missions. So initially, kind of pitched around just turning on microfilm, just forcing microfilm. But then people wanted to choose between swap and microfilm. The only thing is, I do think that over time it might just kind of reduce into swap, because swap is just so valuable as a last second rush you don't have to prep for. But it does at least spice the map up quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's see how it pans out. So we'll have Roxo on Irish in 3, 2, 1. Playing it.
Instant redirect. I think we. Oh, actually,
by control.
By control, yeah.
Or AI control. I mean, yeah.
I'm interested to see if he'll BB here. Like that, it's interesting. There's only 2 people out of conversation, I think, and almost everybody's in.
2 out, but would you give it to Smallman there? I don't know. I maybe think Smallman was fake.
It's true.
Doesn't go for it. Just switches conversation. Takes the early green test flirt, which is great on high rise to get the green flirt. Something that you definitely need. And because there's less party goers here than some of the other venues like Veranda, the sniper has more bandwidth to be able to watch flirts and keep track of that. So trying to finish it up with 2 green flirts is ideal.
Yeah, and then I do hope that Roxo is so one of the main things you can do as spy, even unless a spy that is, let's say, hasn't played as much. It is easier for you as spy to also track who has done inspects. So it's like actually a great spot to practice, just like while you're waiting for your banana bread, which we just fire off. Let's see how many low lights we get off. I think we know that we're about to low light general off to the right, and that's general, and it looks like a twin back there. So not let's say average. I think 2 is kind of like, I think 1.5 maybe is like the true average of people you can get out, because some games you have a really easy time getting 1. Other games you're only forced down to 2, and sometimes you can get everybody in. But yeah, so people can, spies hopefully, like right now, there's no reason for Roxo to be, I guess Roxo is just trying to really barrel down on selection target. You can gotta just watch, hey, who's been to statues? You're not doing anything else while you're waiting for the seduction targets.
Good spot for reverse drive by here. Oh, and a shot goes off.
Let's see what happens here. So obviously BB credit, and I'm assuming just at some point, did we go to 2 sets of statues as salmon?
Yes.
We did. Okay. All right. That's a high rise shot. It'll happen.
Yep, that's a high rise shot.
So can't even say that's a mistake. Just kind of, that's what happened. If you fire off a decent banana bread, someone just might look like they're finishing. Yeah. So actually no shame for banana bread there. Total behavioral. Maybe there was something about flirting that they could have caught and then need to narrow it down, but I could very well see myself taking the exact same shot. They even waited until they were leaving the statue.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens with banana bread on Taft in 3, 2, 1. Planet.
And
yeah,
very interesting to do Taft, right?
I think so. I typically make Taft my ambassador, so I don't play him as a spy all that much.
Yeah, and in particular, so Taft's benefit in bugging. So one of the big things about high rise is bug is huge as far as like the hardtail that most spies try to make themselves ambitious for. They either do traditionally purloin, bug, and inspect are the main things that they focus on, except for they assume they will pretty much get seduce and banana bread. Being Taft is fast, can block his own arm with his body, so it's kind of can turn into more behavioral. But the problem is you turn a lot in bugs on high rise, and his arm sticks out so far if you turn at all. So you have to be really keeping your arm linear if you want to get away with the bug. So it's kind of a strange bug issue.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Banana Bread goes for bug or if they have something else in mind. But for now, just hanging out with the double agent. It's unfortunate the DA just left because we had invested a lot of time to looking like we were not with the double agent.
I think we have keyed in on Smallman being at middle statues, so we might actually be waiting for DA to come back in to a spot where we could maybe get both Banana Bread and credit Smallman, because he's gonna be at the top of the list on Spy for sure.
I thought we were maybe going to set up for a double walking bug there. Went to the spy pad just to idle a little bit. Finishes up. Seduce, rejects the drink, and is kind of checking out the party to see what their next step is.
And I was kind of hoping that so Smallman happens to be our seduction target. Well, it happens to be a strong, probably intentionally our seduction target. Smallman has to be one of the most common STs, just to make sure that they're not in the pool of SDAs. But Smallman, if you're flirting with Smallman, you also know that Smallman's been near you most of the game if he's been talking enough. But I don't think we'll be able to kind of like give ourselves credit for being the ST pair, because Smallman's kind of ditched out a couple times on us without talking.
No purloin there, and I think Kane had rejected a drink. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned on timing here. Banana Bread's done, I think, a little bit too much idling. Does go for the reverse drive-by. I was wondering when we were going to see some bug attempts here. Laser's hanging on Taft, but no reaction. And we're in a really good position now.
I totally. I think actually we got that bug probably clean. So we're probably just going to swap combos here and just BB. And it's, well, I mean, I guess there's no DA in the other conversation. Probably not going to see a wrong shot on Smallman. And now the question is, do we try to make this... Oh, we're just going to shoot Smallman for a potential reverse bug, I think.
For being Smallman.
Yeah. So can't really blame too much in there, because Smallman... Okay, so one other thing is Smallman was positioned in the reverse spot. But if we were going to be really worried about Smallman... Actually, no, I guess if we thought there was a bug, Smallman would have had to have gotten it when... It doesn't really feel like he would have been close enough. When would Smallman have gotten that bug? Oh, wait, no, sorry. He doesn't need bug. Smallman, no, he does need bug. There was no banana bread.
No contact, yeah. Yeah, it's hard. You'd have to really, I think, if Roxo isn't sure about whether or not Smallman got the bug, you have a Smallman who did mid statues. I would probably maybe bank on the fact that being Smallman and going to mid statues early is just so aggressive that you got to be like, probably not the spy. But I mean, high rise is a little gambly, right? Like you have to take shots sometimes that are a little gambly and shoot AIs that finish like we saw in the last one. So that's just sometimes how it turns out.
I have one other hot take. Smallman only did a single cycle on center inspects. And so
interesting.
I think he couldn't have done the full center inspects, but it's so hard to be paying attention to that too. It's just one other interesting piece of the puzzle here.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally valid. And I don't think I think it's just like white and red, or sorry, white and sorry, and maybe one other person that can get them all in one.
I believe Rocker can.
Rocker, that's right. There's always it's the two slow characters plus a weird person, and the weird person's Rocker. But agreed that it's true that we're probably not gonna put that much attention on that. But it being the only set of center inspects, I think that's actually a great piece of advice for people, is to generally, because there's going to be so much noise on high rise, that's a great thing for beginning snipers to look at, or actually any sniper to look at, is take a second, see if they do a second cycle and incorporate that into the revisit or not, right?
Yeah. Very powerful tool to use that.
Gotta throw in the tech.
Yeah. The other thing, though, is I was curious if, I feel like this is more of like a people that just intuitively play a lot. Sometimes you also just take a shot on Smallman near the end of the game when he's standing in the back conversation circle, because of it's actually, Smallman on high rise is one of the better dance positions. It's actually, if there's a nice block, you can actually dance it out after like a bug or something crazy, and sometimes you just take that. It's like shark walking almost on high rise.
You're looking for someone to set up for it.
Jeez, I'm getting a Guggy PTSD right now. It's like his move.
All right, well, let's find out if Roxo goes for a shark walk. Starting out as Kane in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
All right, lots of bouncing around and settling in for an inspect and a seduce.
Yeah.
And Ambassador is going to be, I was going to say, we might have taken a bug out of there, but Ambassador might have even been forced out. And maybe, nope, just going into the... That's one of my least favorite things for Ambassador to do, by the way, is if they get bounced out of conversation in Aquarium and then they go to the windows. Oh, they didn't even put down Briefcase. Annoying. Because Ambassador at windows is one of the only safe feeling places for Ambit to be on Aquarium.
Bananabread.
Unless someone happens to be over there. Bananabread goes off. We did pretty good Bananabread, actually. At least for a number of people in conversation.
It was good, but we ended up picking a highlight. I think it was the only real. The combo that got highlight was the only real, so 4 people have a real contact, which is, in terms of number of people in combo, it was a great contact, but narrowing it down to 4 or 5 this early is pretty risky.
Indeed, and I'm going to see if... So this is going to be actually a test of Bananabread's memory. We're also doing bar highlights, so White does not have a real contact, but went to bar.
That's what it is.
No, you're right about the highlights in that conversation were real BBs. I'm curious if we're going to... Basically, are we going to neutral White Dress in 30 seconds or not? I'm just going to be interested.
No, I was confused because I remember it being 4 and then it jumped up to 5, so it was because White Dress got the bar. That's the reason.
Indeed.
I think.
Yes. No, that is what happened.
No highlight onto wheel. Oh, they haven't taken a drink yet. That's fine.
Oh, and there was the fingerprint. That's right. So we are getting a fingerprint. So this is a highly suspicious drink, but it looks like... Ooh, yeah.
Very visible. Broke animations there to do the kind of a running delegate. I think that Roxo was under the assumption that they were behind Shark for that. It doesn't... it was noticed. Lasers panning over. It looks like they're getting ready for the shot. Yeah, thinking about it, Bananabread takes the shot.
Yeah, agreed. And the other thing that going to go kind of wrong in there was, okay, so it's on Aquarium, especially because maybe you can just shark walk it out. We were gonna have the problem of we had progress on 3 other missions, and we were hoping to get that flirt done, and unfortunately ST bails. But even if we had that, we would either have to do a fingerprint or an inspect. So we weren't going to finish with like at the same time as Purloin going off and like forcing a hard decision for the sniper. Rather, the sniper had plenty of kind of time to parse that out if they wanted to, and there was no one else at bar when we sent the delegate. So there was no time in between that we would have been able to build for ourselves to get the fingerprint or inspect.
Yeah, but we'll see how they respond on Sniper. Excited to see Wheels. We'll see if Bananabread... There's a good shark walk you can do with Wheels for bookcase to bookcase, so we'll see if they kind of go for that. We'll start it in 3, 2, 1. Playing it.
Yeah, no, totally with the Wheels thing. It's actually great that Wheels is good for something, and it's he's just faster than Smallman, who's about the same height, and so for shark size, it's actually really good. Now, of course, for width-wise, most of the other times for the Smallman thing, Wheels is not nearly as good as Smallman. But for Shark Walk, it's actually one thing, because it's like he's like the exact speed of Shark, which is great.
But starting out with a fair bit of idling, which worries me a little bit, but shouldn't be the end of the world, is going to switch conversations over to the real double agent. We do go for the reverse drive-by from the sniper's camera. I had just switched to it, but it did not look very visible, which puts Bananabread in a great position to start.
No, you're completely right, and we just happened to hold an angle that made it not visible. If let's say Ambassador was going to the front instead of wrapping around, Ambassador basically did the curling around for us. Wheels, as most people know, has a really ugly walking bug animation as far as width, and so if you see it from the side at all, it's very visible. But Ambassador blocked it perfectly on his way through, and we had a great bug.
Yeah, we're in a great position. I would actually like to see, like, Bananabread is fine here. The actual mission, Contact Double Agent, is a fine move here. I'd like to see us get started on the inspects now. That way we don't have to be doing them at the end.
Yeah, and
we finish with Flirt.
Right. Exactly, yes. And then, like, if you do it fast enough, you're able to kind of just hang out. And Flirt's relatively... reliable if you just have enough time. There's very few spots where Flirt can go that ST can go that you can't really follow them to.
Right. We definitely should not timer float this. I don't think we have time. Even though we're ahead of the game with that early bug, I do not think that we have enough time to go and timer float this. Luckily, the ST leaves us. I mean, if they go for another hardtail, right? If Bananabread goes for like a purloin or a swap, sure, we got plenty of time. But I think when you get away with an early hardtail, like a bug like that, I think it's good to add in a softail because it's just, I feel like it guarantees you the win a little bit more rather than taking another big risk.
No, absolutely. And we're going to have to think about which sharks we have available coming up for us. It looks like we're middle shark right now, so it's going to be top, top. It's going to go middle,
Bananabread.
finish this middle, then top, top, and then we're going to
Fake.
have another middle. That is strange that we would fake at this point.
Does Bananabread think that they got seen for the bug? Usually a fake Bananabread is to like, I'm under suspicion and I need a way to subvert it, so I'm going to go with a fake BB. But I don't know. Are they...
I really like
They
it. The
think they're
combos
a
are pretty
high
full.
suspect.
I don't know.
That's true. So you're saying like
seems
just
like an
taking a
unnecessary
shot.
gamble.
I would say that let's say it's for if it's for the unfortunately we're talking, so I don't think we're gonna get credit for a bug there. So that's great that we were talking. So with the Bananabread in that position, you could either be trying to lose heat, or just great, everybody's in conversation. It's Aquarium. I should do a Bananabread because that's what you do. I would say losing heat for bug is one of the hardest things to lose heat for. Like people,
Yeah.
if they assign you bug credit, I don't think you lose any suspicion for that if they go out of their way to do. Oh, I think we're setting up for that shark walk.
Yeah, I think so also. Now, it's not one where you get to dance behind the shark. You're not invincible for the shot. It's one that you can use here to not be seen.
The ambassador is gonna be there too. I wonder if we're gonna have extra suspicion here. Oh
Slam
no!
it, slam it, slam it. It looked perfect from the sniper side. From the sniper side, it was perfect.
Oh my god! But there's gonna be overtime, and I feel like we're the
We're good.
shot. Oh,
Yeah.
oh no, we're okay. So
Beautiful.
Seek must have just I guess also just OT and you shoot somebody and you just shoot a highlight. So the only issue that could have come up there was whether or not we actually thought that Wheels went over there to bug instead of doing a microfilm, right? So we got and that's just bad luck. That execution of the shark, let's say ride instead of walk, because he wasn't, like you said, he wasn't trying to use shark to be completely invisible. He was just using him as a way to all of a sudden be at the other bookcase without being seen walking or rolling over there. So almost got unlucky, but Bananabread planned that out, which I really appreciate, that he actually was like looking ahead to the rest of the game and saying, okay, I need to get this seduction done in order to do this other thing, because otherwise you have to rely on getting a seduce on the way over, which is completely taken up to chance.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that Bananabread went into that taking Wheels on purpose so that they could do that shark walk. So probably a part of their game plan from the beginning.
Yeah, and who knows if Roxo is familiar with the shark rides as opposed to the shark walks, because it's the kind of thing that it should work on you very specifically once, and then from there on out, when there's all of a sudden the sleight of hand character appears out of nowhere thing, you might be looking for a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, let's see how Roxo responds as Rocker on Courtyard in 3, 2, 1, playing it. I think the first person that I was aware that did that Wheels move there, we go for a standing bug as the ambassador walks by, and it was just seen and shot for. Yeah, it was fairly on camera.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
Oh no, I was just trying to look at this bug to see if it was. So the one thing I say for it is Ambassador was bouncing around a lot, and we might have just been hoping that he was going to bounce back and forth. But the thing is, Ambassador is basically the first thing every sniper looks at on Courtyard.
Right.
I just feel like rushing bug on Courtyard as far as your chaos action is one of the lowest percentages across rushing bugs on most maps, because
I agree.
You can always find Ambassador really quickly as sniper on Courtyard, and it's pretty much the first thing that everybody watches.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's see if Roxo can get a sniper win. I think we're on match point, right? Bananabread's at 6-3. Bananabread in the lead here.
Ooh, that's true. Yeah, so Bananabread were on the last three then, because we were tied going into Aquarium. So Bananabread picked up both on Aquarium and won the first game of Courtyard. So yeah, we are on match point.
All right, let's see what Bananabread does in 3, 2, 1. Playing it. I also just looked at the scoreboard on the stream to see it.
Yeah, no, I've been doing the same thing when I saw
cheated.
the 3-3. All right, you were saying something about the first player doing Shark Ride on.
Pofke. I think that may be the person that pioneered it.
I know it's at least the most well-known because I think it was during Summer Cup like 2020, and it was back when there was like a competition for like sick plays or something like that, or there was just like a highlights thing. It was specifically a highlighted play that got played in different contexts, and it was just people just loved it because Pofke is a spy who very specifically thinks out the sequence of things they're going to do in a game before they play it, and pulled it into their game plan just really well.
And Seek started this off. By the way, their Time of Chaos move was a add time, I believe, here, and then goes into a fingerprint.
Yeah, and timeout actually. So timeout on Courtyard, as far as a rush, is one. It's this weird thing where it's available pretty much no matter where your spawn start is, unless you happen to be right on the inside of the map. So it's something that sometimes if you want to like rush timeout on Ballroom, for example, you might not actually start near enough a window to truly chaos it. And real quick, to disaggregate that, just in case people don't know what we're talking about, Time of Chaos is like the first 3 to 5 seconds in any given game where there is just no organization to the people. They're going in every direction. Amba's almost certainly under threat. People can just have this option of going for something because Sniper is still just getting themselves anchored on the map, versus Rush, which is just saying doing things in the first minute or 2 of the map. And we Bananabread on Courtyard pretty much is automatic when there's enough people in conversation. It's one of the easier things to fire off because you can also there's a low cost to firing off fake BBs, so you can also cover for it later if you want. But the big question, of course, is what are you going to do, inspect or not, and just do the full-on contact, inspect, seduce, fingerprint, and then basically rely on the sniper being comfortable shooting for soft tells on Courtyard.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the safest play here. Is just going for that inspect and fingerprint finish, and I think that's probably what we're gonna do here shortly. I'm surprised we're not going for this briefcase yet. Like, it's gonna get taken. Yeah, we waited too long. Oh, wanted to get the seduce before leaving. That's fine.
Yeah, but agreed, because sometimes, so one of the interesting things about Courtyard fingerprints is if there's enough conversations that sometimes Ambassador can sit in the same spot for a long time and not leave any fingerprints. So it is a bit of a risk not to take fingerprints when you can on this map because the timer's not super long. Ooh, is it difficult or? Yeah. Okay.
Great finish. I don't even know if Bananabread knew that one was there. Watching their camera, I'm not sure they had noticed it. But in any event, that's going to be a great finish. Fingerprintable statue. You got away with the first one clean. Roxo seems to not have noticed and wraps it up with a clean spy victory on Courtyard.
Yeah, and that's just kind of that is the kind of finish you can press on somebody and then just say like, I'm going to see if your basics are up to snuff or not. It's Courtyard.
Yeah.
And just, I'm going to do a couple of fingerprints, and if you miss one, your game's over because you're probably not going to shoot just for contact. Seduce and
yeah, that's like very much like a chump check, right? That's like you need to be able to win as a sniper. You need to be ready to almost always win these kinds of games. This is like a very standard, above mid-level or above average spy game, right? Like normally people might go for a hard tell. But going for this double soft tell, you need to be ready to count these and catch those fingerprints. So if you kind of want to rank up and start playing at the higher level, you've got to be able to catch these. And Bananabread just putting it to the test here and getting away with it.
Yes, and an interesting little inflection here is we finished at 40 seconds. This became available as a play without overtime because we did that rush time ad. So it's also something that I don't know if Roxo ever even noticed there's a time ad. There's definitely games where you might not have been known the entire time because you're not watching that there was a time ad at any point. And so Bananabread was able to space out his fingerprints because he had that extra time. So that's also just a great thing to notice about the flexibility you can get specifically in Courtyard from time ads.
Yeah, it was just a really good like standard spy game on Courtyard that works. Like that's if you should basically do a spy game like that until your opponent proves that they can counter it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Then you have to start doing crazy stuff when they can catch those.
No, agree. It's kind of similar to bar purloin checks, where it's just you just do some soft tells and then just do a delegate, and then if you just pressure your opponent with that until they can prove that they can shoot for delegates, just keep doing it.
Yeah, good set.
Yeah, and so Bananabread, after some back and forth fights, just kind of picks clean spy games and just wins it out.
Yeah, it was fairly neck and neck in the beginning, so I'm surprised Bananabread, they did a good job of kind of figuring it out and pulling ahead in the second half of the match, so it was great.